Hello! Oh, it's nearly Christmas. I'm rather happy, aren't I, at the moment? Because it's nearly Christmas. Oh, how are we all doing? Oh, going to be a busy night tonight. You're going to have to get on with it. Wasn't me tonight. No, it was one of my apps that I'm demonstrating that was causing grief tonight. But let me know in the chat if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Excellent.
Shall I let you know in the chat?
No, you don't have to let me know in the chat. You're sat next to me, Mike. I notice here that Kim says that Simon was first in, but Simon coming in when he did knocked Renee off top spot. Renee was in on Wednesday. Obviously, that's cheating a bit, but you know, hey-ho. Anyway, hello, Renee. Hello, Simon. Hello, Kim. Young Jonathan. Yay. Have you broken up for Christmas yet? Or are you working right to the death? Who else have we got? We've got Deb. Hello, Deb. Hello, Paul.
We've got two Debs.
We've got two Debs. We're nearly there with them. And our Pauls are doing quite nicely. I think you'll find her. We got three Debs. I can definitely see two Debs.
I don't see Debbie S.
Oh, no. Hello, Alex. Who else have we got? We've got Peter. And we've got Graham. Oh, Graham, what have you got in the treat department? We've got some in the week at MacBites headquarters. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Hello, Peter and Annie. And hello, who else have we got? I think we've got two Debs. Two Debs. That's pretty good. Right, I'm going to get right on with it because it's chaotic. It's chaotic. And that's turning itself off, which we don't want. So if something will flash up, just ignore it. I'm not going to do the update thing yet. I'm just going to make sure it never turns off. Awesome. Right, what have we got? Oh, busy, rare old week. In fact, busier than usual because we've just had a late edition, haven't we? I spotted it, then you spotted it, and then it was added. So, we've got the week at MacBites headquarters, rare old week, but, you know, we're on holiday, so anything could happen, and it did. Renee wants to know about adding files to Eagle by right-clicking on them and sending to. Hold that thought, Renee. Then I've got a new app called Endurance. That's a good name for an app, MacBites headquarters. Then we have Snagit 2022. Is it worth the upgrade? Freebies. We have freebies. Despite the fact we've got Advent freebies, we've got more freebies. Then Mike is doing part 3 of his Excel query thing, Power Query. And then we've got the final part, unless you can think of anything else, of our Scrivener Masterclass, where we're going to make a template. We don't have an unboxing though, do we, Mike? How did that sneak in? No. There's a picture of something we unboxed, if that counts. Trust me, when you see it, it will. So that's what we've got. That's what I've got to get on. So 1080p, we're broadcasting in 1080p. Make sure you are receiving in 1080p. Hang on a minute.
I'm not seeing
Hang on a minute. You're not seeing this, are you? No, it's been naughty. It's been naughty. Let me take that back so you can see it. Right. How's that? Is that better? That's better. That's what we've got tonight. Okay, let me head back over here before the slide goes wonky. You know when the slide goes wonky and I get cranky? Yeah, that. Okay, we are broadcasting in 1080p. Make sure that you are receiving. I don't think YouTube did anything particularly stupid with me this week because I haven't had a chance to watch anything. But while you are there, in the lower right-hand corner where the cog is, there's also a thumbs up. And you could give us a thumbs up because it makes a difference with YouTube. Okay, so last Saturday, first official day of our holiday. Oh, what did we do? Same as usual. No, not quite. There were 7 shows, but they were all prereqs. I had Rome Book Club, the unofficial one. The unofficial one being for David Allen's GTD, not Edwin Bliss, as last week. And Mike said, why are these events overlapping on your calendar? And I said, because one's going to run long. Needless to say, it did. But there was no Brooklands 196 by request because it's on Christmas holiday. What's a girl to do with herself? FA Cup first round day. And were United playing? Not in the first round, no. United don't play in the first round or the second round. They join with the Premier clubs in round 3. So, Yeovil, Town and Stevenage it was then. It wasn't a bad match. Yeovil won 1-0 if you're interested. Then Tesco arrived and it was a lady, wasn't it, Mike?
It was.
But it wasn't Wendy. Oh, shocking. Which took us on to Sunday. Now, Sunday, it was actually happening proper. It was the United match. You were quietly confident. I mean, it was Crystal Palace. Anyway, they won. But it wasn't without incident, was it? Wasn't that the ticketing farce, or was that later in the week?
No, that was later.
I decided it was a good idea to have Morrison's arrive. Why? Now, Graham, make sure you're watching. Gluten-free mince pies. In fact, they're gluten-free, wheat-free, milk-free, and vegan. Don't ask me what's actually in there. I have no idea. Bit of fruit, but I'm not sure about the rest. But we're saving those, savouring them. We are. Can't wait. Then on Monday, you're gonna love this. This is in lieu of the unboxing. All right. What do you need to do first day of Christmas? In fact, it's the first day of any of our holidays, isn't it? Because do you remember the one where we put a thing up that said first day of the holidays?
Yeah.
And it had a beach and a pina colada. And then next to it said also first day of the holidays. And there was a tin of paint. That's up. That's us. That's us. So it was the great Christmas tidy up where we encountered the ghost of Christmas past. You're wondering, aren't you? Well, I wasn't overly keen on the concept of tidying up, but I did perk up when we found an unopened Amazon delivery from last year. Seriously, last December. And somehow we hadn't opened it. Oh, it was exciting because I had no idea what was in it. It was well worth opening, that was. It was 2 hard drive cases. I don't know why there was only 2, because there was 3 SSDs in there, which I said to Mike, do you realise these have doubled in price in the last year? So a complete bargain now. And 2 SD cards, which were for my audio recorder. I have no idea how they did not get opened. But they didn't, and it was a nice surprise. It was like previous me knowing that future me would be delirious to find a box with 3 SSDs in it. So there you go. Oh, excellent playing that. You're quite right, Kim. It is marginally longer than the COVID cave, isn't it? Maybe that's what I was doing, thinking I'll leave it for a few days, and then I totally forgot. I know, but there you go. It's worked out well, because now, if they'd have been opened last year, they'd have been full of data by now, wouldn't they? I'd need more. But they're not. They're shiny and new. So that was Monday. That was Monday morning, that. In the evening, it was the FA Cup draw for the 3rd round. And United got Aston Villa. Now, for the uninitiated with football, it could have been worse and it could have been better. Villa are in the Premier League, but not one of the danger clubs. Until our boys rock up and cock up, as it were. Technical term. And the match will be in the first week in January, so if Mike's a bit grumpy, you'll know why. Also Tuesday, I know we're moving on to Tuesday now, aren't we? Yes. Overnight, Storm Barra. I thought, well, how bad could it be? Don't ask questions like that. That was the weather picture they were frightening us to death with. For reference, that's where we are. That wasn't looking good. Talk about the eye of the storm on the way. Luckily, we don't live within danger distance of the coast because the weather was pretty abysmal. Certainly for those that live near the coast. Who wouldn't want to go for a dip in a UK beach, eh? Yeah, the colour of that water, not good. No. So the storm was really bad. It was a tinge windy, let's say that. But me? No, I was otherwise occupied. I was occupied updating my Snagit certification. So I was very busy. I didn't have time to look out of the window. Which took us to Wednesday. Now, this is important. It could be potentially important for you guys. Back in May, I did some demonstrations of Canva. And I signed up for a pro account. Well, about 10 days ago, Mike said, I think I'll get a Canva account. So I said, well, you can piggyback on mine. You can have an organisation and you can piggyback on mine. And that way we save 40%. Awesome, said Mike. Needless to say, I never actually quite got round to it because I'd heard from somebody else a long time ago, about a year ago, that they didn't set up a business straight away. They just opened a single account. And then because they didn't add anybody in terms of paying the 60%, they got some free places. So I thought I could quite do with some free places. So eventually, as Mike's getting more cranky by the second because he hasn't got his Canva account, I logged into my Canva account and I went to the team and I went to add Mike to the team to find I'd got 4 team spaces for free. Result, we were about to pay £60 for that. So, point 1, beware incoming artwork from Mike. But point 2, if you do want to share it with your nearest and dearest, now might be a good time to go and check it. Okay? Before, I think it was certain people. Renee says now it now has 4. It wasn't for everybody. So, good news. Go and check. Go and check. While I was busy occupying myself with that, we had news from Downing Street. This wasn't a press conference that was preordained. It was a surprise. But on Facebook, people had really caught the mood of the country. If you're not in the UK and you wonder what on earth is going on, Boris and his party had... The party, that's the most unfortunate term, isn't it? They were having a party last year. In fact, they're investigating 3 parties. So while all that was going on, the press were not pleased. I particularly like Captain Cock-Up in the Clubo game. Lovely. But even better than that is our comedians in the UK. Rory Bremner is one of our comedians, and that has been doing the rounds on Facebook, and I thought that just sums it up totally. But the impromptu press conference was, the plan B that we weren't going into the day before? Yeah, now we are. So it's as you were. Masks, working from home, yeah. But all of that did not explain the next sage piece of advice from Barking Mad Boris. This is another one of our comedians, but he caught it, and that's exactly what it is. I do love our comedians. I feel they deserve a shot at running the country because they couldn't possibly do a worse job. That is genuine. Somebody said, so it's working from home, is it? And Boris said yes. But can we go to the Christmas party? Yes, I think you should. Okay, so I'll leave that there. While that was going on, there was a match. Mike was a bit nervous. We did have another match to distract us from the politics, thankfully. It could have involved less stress when the ticket office cancelled Mike's ticket minutes before the match, meaning that our friend had to hotfoot it to the ticket office and beg them to reactivate it so he could actually get into the stadium. Talk about you had one job. Trouble was, when he got to the ticket office, he wasn't alone. He was in a queue of at least 250 people that they'd done the same to. And the United goal was scored at the 9-minute mark, so I do hope he got in before the 9-minute mark. It's chaos. I know we talked about it on a couple of MacBites. It's not improved. It's still as chaotic as it was. Which took us on to Thursday. Oh, Thursday's good. Thursday's very, very good. This is the Lowry Theatre in Salford. And I would say it's relatively new, but I think it's been there about 20 years now. It's the place where we go, and Eric Cantona, and does like his party piece of an event. And inside, that's the theatre. So it's a beautiful, beautiful theatre. But they also have like cultural events on. So this is one of their cultural events, Light Waves 2021. That is Salford Quays, so that's water, and that is the thing that was the centrepiece of this Light Waves event. So it kind of floats, that's the Quays, it floats on the water, and it is an exact replica of the globe, and it was something like 3 million megapixels, and it's 1.8 million times smaller than the Earth, but other than that is accurate to within an inch of its life. And what they're doing is, it's a thing that's on for about 12 days, I think, charging you to go and see it, floating along, as it were. Notice that bit that's Australia that's quite dry, because that has a bearing in a moment. But people are rocking up and paying to see this thing. And the idea is it's an experience, isn't it? Don't collect things, collect experiences, they said. Right, you've seen it, haven't you? And the reality when people got there, because a friend went and took a photo. And I am not even joking. Sometimes there are no words. You see the brown bit? That's Australia. Yeah, you know those flat earthers? Not quite flat. You'll be glad to hear they did get their money back, except the parking fee, which I think was about £12 a car. So, nice little money earner, really, isn't it? That is seriously what it looked like. Unbelievable. So, today, we're going to go back in time. You may remember the magic of Christmas at Dun & Massey in 2018. We had just started doing After Hours. And we went out there, I think it was a Friday night. It was fabulous. There was snow, there was bubbles, you name it. It was amazing. And there's a light show where the entire field is covered in lights. It was a great experience. We loved it. There was fake snow. Mike met some friends. This is only his first reindeer. That's a dancer. But there was icicles hanging down. You name it. It was fabulous. Oh, that was his second. That was Cupid. We thought we'd looked out in the middle when we found the marshmallow toasting emporium. And it was like a pagoda, as you see, covered in lights, and you went and chose whatever flavour of marshmallow you wanted, and then you could roast it over an open fire. Oh, we were having a ball.
Someone's looking a lot better.
Oh, good. That one's Vixen, so Mike was making merry with all of these reindeer. It really was the most amazing sight. They are real flames across the river. Then there was Blitzen, so Mike was doing really well. As I can say, this is real flame. So I'm showing you this for a reason, apart from the fact that we had an absolute blast. And we intended the next year to take your mum, didn't we?
Yeah.
But then Mike's dad got ill and we couldn't actually go. The reindeer were bereft. I think the next year was COVID, wasn't it? So we couldn't go then either. So we've not been back since this time, but we had the most amazing time there. This is towards the end of it where it's like a market. And it's fantastic. We loved it. Had an absolute blast the entire night. We didn't go on the rides. But there's something coming up here that reminded us of Renee. So keep your eye on the food. It was either this one or the next one. Yes, there we go. Dutch pancakes. What makes a Dutch pancake? What makes it different? So that was the market at the end of it. And the last reindeer to be bothered. I'm not sure. Was that Rudolph? Yeah, that's Rudolph, that one, isn't it? Because it had a red nose. So Mike's having a whale of a time. And the very last thing was a water show. So it was all these lights and water. I don't know whether you can actually see the water, but the jets of water flying all over the place. It was the most amazing thing. I'd never seen anything like it before. Put it like that. And it finished off with the light show putting the National Trust logo on it. And then that was on the way out, and Mike's highlight of the entire event. I know the reindeer, yeah, but not as much as a highlight as his hot chocolate. He does love his hot chocolate. So, had they surpassed themselves 3 years on? Well, we're not going, obviously, not leaving the house. But we had heard it wasn't quite, it wasn't quite as good as we'd experienced, put it like that. So, like the reality of the globe, reality part 2. Now, you know, the weather, not good, because of Storm Barra. Yeah, they didn't close it. They didn't even drain it. So the photos that are coming out, they said there's a couple of puddles. Yeah, these puddles were like up to a foot deep. It didn't end well for many of the people trying to get in and out. And they didn't even close it after that. So yeah, I think we got the best of that deal. Dutch pancakes are those mini disc ones, are they? Is that right? No idea. Made by Dutchies. Well, I don't know because we didn't have one.
There used to be a Dutch pancake house in Manchester.
Ah, but you see, they're not gluten-free. No. Anyway, let's get back to even more humour. If we travel back, not quite as far, just to last week, you'll remember Royal Mail and their fiasco, where they assured me it was going to be here on Wednesday. And it wasn't. Then they assured me it was going to be there on Thursday. And finally, it turned up. But it was concerning because of what it was. So we didn't go into detail last week. We hadn't even opened it. But the reason we were concerned, Royal Mail. Also known in the UK as Royal Fail, because they can barely deliver anything. What was in the parcel that went missing, that gave us so much concern? iTunes vouchers. Quite a few iTunes vouchers because they were on offer at 10% off. Therefore, Royal Mail were entrusted with £950 worth of iTunes vouchers. Just contemplate that for a second. Right. On Monday, I'd ordered a roll of bin bags for the princely sum of £4.90. And they sent that courier delivered. Amazon Logistics. Really? Yeah. Just as well, the Amazon vouchers turned up. The iTunes vouchers turned up in the end, isn't it, really? Honestly, there are no words. There are seriously no words. Right, let's get on to something that wasn't planned, but Renee's desperate. And you know, can't leave him a desperate man. Adding files to Eagle. Right, let's go and have a look at it. Eagle, if you remember, is the digital asset manager that I've been talking about for a couple of weeks. So this is my work in progress database. And you can see what I've been doing is putting the photos in that I'm working with for the presentation. And there's 212 in there. I've got some of them organised in terms of MacBites Advent and After Hours. And if we go up to there and look at the actual databases, I've got 3 databases in play. I've got the MacBites one, the Mockups one, and this work in progress, which is like just scrappy images that I'm working with. Now, Renee's question was, let's get rid of that, if you've got a Finder window, so there's a little Finder window. Let's get another one because there's nothing in that one. Let's bring you over here and have a look. Right, let's say we've got a folder like that and we've got some images in it. And we would like to add one of these images into our system. Now, the issue with that is they're already in there, aren't they? And it's going to start complaining. Right, I'll get one from somewhere else. That's what I'll do. I'll go to Vivaldi and find one from somewhere. What shall I find? What shall I look for image-wise? How about a United thing? There must be something United-ish, mustn't there? Let's go to images and see what they've got. Anything will do. Club crest. Will that do? How big's that? Oh, that's quite nice. Right, we'll have that. We'll drag that and we'll drag that into there. So Renee's issue is he's got an image in here and he would like to right click it and send it to Eagle. Right, you could do that. You would need to have either a service. So have you looked in the services? Did it add one? Because this isn't the way I do it. There's far too much detritus in here to try and work with. But it could be added as a service. It could be added as an automator action. And you could have a look at shortcuts. So there's 3 alternatives. But that's not the way I do it. I've got 2 alternatives. Right. This is the image that we're working with. Well, this is image 1. You want me to look up Fred? You mean Fred the Red? Right. This one here, we want adding. And I've got 2 ways to do it from here, where all I need to do is drag and drop. One option is to use the Finder and drag and drop it into a folder. So in this case, work in progress. Now, that work in progress folder, right, in here, this database is called work in progress. And that folder happens to be, in my case, let's get another Finder window open, in Dropbox, in Application Support, and in Eagle. And in there, I have Auto Import. Because inside Eagle, in your preferences, you have the option to enable Auto Import. You point it to a folder and notice that the folder isn't named the same as the database. That's going to be a root folder. And all you need to do to enable it is put a URL in there and put a tick in the box. That's it. Right, once you've done that, it creates this for you. Now, I obviously have 3 libraries here, but I'm only really dragging and dropping into 2 of them. So in there, I have a folder for the work in progress database and another one for the mockups. These are watch folders. Anything that gets added into that folder will get added into the database. So one option, in that out of the way, is to add it to the sidebar there and drag and drop into it. And as soon as I do that, I get my little notification and there is the image in the all category in here. and you've got your image. Right, other way to do that. Let's have a look at another one here. How about that one? Awesome. Right, let's drag that in there. Right, the other way to do it, which I'd done first, but it doesn't really matter which way round you do it. If you're in a Finder and you just want to drag and drop it over there, but if you are anywhere else, maybe you're in another application or whatever, and you don't have the Finder open, then there's this application up here, which is Dropzone. And all I've done here is add exactly the same folder, the WIP folder, to there. And I can drag and drop that up there, over there, and exactly the same thing happens. It brings it in, and there we go. So there's 2 different ways to do it. Deborah says, haven't been able to get auto from watch folder, something wrong somewhere. I didn't do anything special with it at all. I just gave it a root folder, and then it puts the database in there, the name of the folder. So it may have embedded it one down. So if you've said to it, if you've specified it, let's get that back, which is, no, it's not. Hang on, where's the other folder? How many Finder windows have I got open here? About 27, I think. No, it's not you either. Is it behind this one? No, it's not. Let's get another one open and have a look. Right, get another tab. All right, in there, you can see there's absolutely nothing because I created this folder. So at the Eagle level, I created that. It created the rest. So if you'd created WIP as the watch folder, it will have put it inside that. So if you were to add the image to here, it wouldn't add it anywhere. You've got to add it to the actual folder that's got the name of the database, and it does that automatically. It generates that. So as soon as you go into the preferences with a specific database open and put a tick in the box and confirm, it will add that to here automatically. So, which is going to suit you, Renee? Which one's going to work for you? Right. I don't think there's anything else that's more technical than that involved in it, to be honest. There's many other apps where you could forward it to a folder. So anything that would enable you to do what Dropzone does, which is just have a list of folders and then drag and drop to it, will work. These are on a cloud service for me. I've put the whole lot on Dropbox, just in case. That way the file was there at some point, and if it's disappeared, I can always get it out the trash online. But that is working perfectly. I've been using that literally all week because there's so many images that I've been working with in there and branding and all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. Right, so hopefully that will solve Renee's problem. If you want it on the right click, then it's going to have to be an automator automation or a shortcut. Personally, I prefer to have a single way of doing it because with an automator or anything like that, you'd have to set it up on a per machine basis. Whereas with Dropzone, you'd have a standard thing on every machine, which would just make it a bit easier. So, Renee says he's going to find his way. Excellent. Well, I prefer either Dropzone, or if I've got the window open, then faster than Dropzone is to just drag it to the sidebar. So just have it as a favourite on the sidebar. Obviously, you're going to need one folder per database, but the majority, I've decided, working with it this week, that for me, the best way to work is a work in progress database and then take the stuff out of there. If you're wondering how that goes, because we could probably do an entire other section on Eagle. I've got all this stuff in here. I've got it organised into smart folders based on tags, but I've also got real ones as well, real folders. But whatever it is, if I've got something selected or one of these, you can from the library, let me have a look. You can merge libraries for a start, but you don't particularly want to do that. But if you right click on here, was it in more? You could group these together. Now, did I do it on a whole folder? That's tiny enough, isn't it? Did I do it here? No, I'm sure I did it off the menu, but it's the same. So I've got a folder full of images. I can export these because I'm not going to want these next week. This is my work in progress database. I'm not going to want them next week. I can either export it to the computer. So I've then got a copy of these images somewhere on my computer. So what I would do with it is I'd say export to the computer, and it's pointing to my automatic import folder, but I would want it in here, which is the assets for this particular presentation, and then just say save. That then has those images in it, and they're taken out of Eagle because at that point I don't need them in my work in progress in Eagle. But it's not deleted them at this end, it's just made a copy of them. The other thing you can do, in case you've got in here, so if we look in here, I've got tags on this, and I could have URLs on it or notes or anything else. So another way to do it, to tidy it up, is to take it to another library. So if I had an after hours library, I could actually send these into that after hours library out of the way. But on the export, you've also got the ability to export it as an Eagle pack. It's like a package file. So we'll stick an Eagle pack in that folder of assets as well. And when we go in there, that's what an Eagle pack looks like. That has got all of the assets in it, but also all of the metadata, which is more powerful than this, but not as accessible. So if we look at that, we can't see inside it, but in here, we can just open it up and actually see the images. So just a few more things to be aware of as well. Right, okay. Any questions on that? Let me know. But for the moment, we will leave that alone. And we will head back into here, where we're looking at another little toy that I think Renee might quite like, on account of the fact he's got a new notch machine, hasn't he? It's a completely new application, it's completely free, and it's called Endurance. And the idea is it gives you stats about your computer. So things that people obsess over, like the temperature and processor cycles and all that kind of garbage. I've never been bothered. What's that other thing called? iStart menu. People have it running and they sit obsessed by it, and I'm thinking that it's taking processor cycles to run the thing. So I'm not particularly into this kind of thing. I know if my machine's not right. Like Mike said today, these fans are on. And I said, oh, mine's quietened down because I restarted the Finder. You just get a feel for whether your computer's okay or not. But this is an app. So there's not much to it, I'm afraid. But if you are into that kind of thing, you would be able to check things. So you can see what's happening with my CPU at the moment. Now, obviously, I'm making a recording. I'm recording audio. I'm recording video. I'm broadcasting to you. I think the iTV's running recording something. And it's not doing bad, actually. It's still in the green. My old machine wouldn't have been. This one's been here a year this week, you know. It's a year this week. Obviously, it gives you more information if it's running on a battery machine. You can see the level of the battery. You can also run a test on it here. I am not pushing this button. I did it before, once was enough. Right, what you do with this button is you press that button and it will then run a test. And your fans will go crazy as it runs 20 cores, and this shoots up to 100%, 99%, and checks everything. But if you are into checking your stats and things, then this is a good option, because not only is it free, it's not ad supported either. It's just free. Free as in free, which makes a change these days, doesn't it? So if you are into that, that might be a good one for you. Oh, Renee says he doesn't need this app. He knows his machine's blazing fast. Now, see, that's the approach I take. If it was 1% slower, I would know about it. Yeah. But for some people, they are obsessed with stats. And if you are, then there you go. There's a new toy for you. Right.
When did you first do Eagle? Was it 2 weeks ago?
2 or 3 weeks ago. Not that long ago, because I only just found it.
There you go, Patricia. 2 or 3 weeks ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago, no more than that. Underneath the videos, it will have Eagle in there. We did it for 2 weeks. But now this week, where I've been obsessed with it, I could probably do another one. There's so many different things in there. It's amazing. This week, I've been concentrating on workflow rather than features. So like the first few days with it, it's like, oh, does it do this? Does it do that? Once you get past that, it's like, well, how can I do it better? How can I do it faster? So I tell you what, let's hide that and go into there again. Let's bring it on. What's made a difference for me this week is I started with this file as a work in progress, and it was because normally I do it the way you've seen me show you tonight, that I just have a folder and I put a shortcut in the sidebar. But the problem with that is I can't actually see all of the file types. I can't see inside them. I also can't tag them for particular things. So this week if we look at the tags here, if we go to tag something, I've got Tonight's Show, I've got Snagit, I've got Storm Barra. And if you noticed, it's picked up Storm and Barra and UK. It's picked that up from the metadata and the file names. And these are all the things I've got. So I had some stuff from newspapers, some stuff was from mics, some stuff is for MacBites. There were things that I'd shared on social that I tagged that. There was a Lightwaves thing that I tagged Lightwaves. I added some backgrounds to it, so I've got a backgrounds tag. And it's just been an absolute joy to work with. An absolute joy. Because most of the time I'm either in one of these things, so it's like the Advent stuff, which is all this stuff for Advent. Or I'm in the all, in which case there's a ton of stuff in there. And you've got these permanent filters across the top, so you can find exactly what you want just by searching for it or applying a tag. It is genius. It saved a ton of time, put it like that. Right, okay. If you want more on Eagle, let me know. Right, okay, so Snagit. Oh, we've been waiting for Snagit. Snagit usually comes out in October. But this year, no, and I don't know why. It was late. What was weird was all of the assets were uploaded and all of the help pages were there. And then we had to wait 3 months. I don't know why. I have no idea. So Snagit is an application the sole aim of which is to provide tools for professional capture of screen captures, both still and video. So why you might have a need for Snagit, because there's built-in options. There's cheaper options than this. What makes Snagit so special? What does Snagit do more than the built-in options? Well, first off, we'll have a look at the pricing, because that's always interesting, isn't it? It's a free download with a 15-day free trial. I didn't think that was that long either. When you buy it, so you get a lifetime license that gives you 2 installs. It also includes the first year of maintenance. Now, I'm pretty sure when we bought it, it didn't. You had to buy maintenance on top of that.
I think you did.
But it now includes 1 year of maintenance. And as it says there, for your PC and Mac, and create unlimited screenshots. The other option, where there's more of a discount, is if you don't have Camtasia and you want to add Camtasia. But I would say Camtasia, I mean, the price of that is, I think it's about £245. It's expensive unless you're making professional screencasts. But that is if you're buying them from scratch. So this is a first purchase. If you are upgrading, then it is £30.28. But you wouldn't necessarily need to upgrade if you'd got maintenance. So the upgrade price presupposes you don't have a maintenance contract. Now, why wouldn't you go for maintenance? Well, maybe you've skipped a few years and you've worked on the principle that, there wasn't much new in 2020, so I won't bother. Then in that case, and I'm not taking maintenance, in that case, that's when an upgrade would kick in, when you would need to pay for an upgrade. Hang on, going the wrong way there. Now, Snagit maintenance is included with every upgrade. So if you upgrade, you get 1 year of Snagit maintenance that you don't have to pay any extra for. That guarantees you Snagit 2023 for the price of either your initial purchase or your upgrade. I know it's complicated, but... Right, so your maintenance agreement. What is your maintenance agreement? Well, it's not a subscription in the traditional sense, but maintenance ensures that you've got access to updates without any additional cost. So maintenance, on new purchases, you get it included for a year. On upgrade, you get it included. But if you are beyond that, which Mike and I both are, then subsequent maintenance each year costs you £10.90. But as far as we're concerned, because there's a new version out every year, we're getting an upgrade for £10.90. The only way it makes sense not to take the maintenance is if you don't intend to upgrade for 4 years. Now, how viable that is depends on if the operating system dies a sad death. You know, the operating system changes, you update that, and then Snagit doesn't support it. Okay? So something to think about. But the maintenance agreement itself, you get a free upgrade guaranteed to the next version. You get phone chat and email support. You get an option to access certification. It's not compulsory, but it's there if you want it. And if you're buying 5 or more, then you get a discount on it. What does the certification look like? Well, the certification, that page is shocking. It's a web page, that, and it's a bit wordy, isn't it? But the upshot of it is that's the homepage for TechSmith Academy. On the left, you've got the Camtasia certification, and on the right, you've got the Snagit certification. As you scroll down, you get access to the actual community, and there's a whole range of FAQs in there. Once you click through to the individual certification, in this case, the Snagit one. Now, the Snagit one's a little bit different than the Camtasia one, because with this, you need to complete 3 parts to get a certificate. You need to complete part 1, which is fundamentals, part 2, which is applied workflows, and then you've got options for part 3. So the first bit is just an introduction to the course. The second one is part 1, Snagit fundamentals, then applied workflows, part 2. But the next one is part 3, and there's 5 different part 3s, depending on the way in which you intend to use it. So for my certification, I took techniques for technical documentation, but then I carried on and did the others, but I didn't need them for the certification. But, you know, I need to know everything it can do. So you get all of that included with the maintenance. So you don't get that if you buy the thing. You don't get that if you upgrade. You get that if you take the maintenance, which gives you a lovely little certificate that you can put on LinkedIn. Lovely, isn't it? Right. If you buy direct, you get the choice of whether you install it on Mac or Windows. So the direct purchases are cross-platform. For Windows, you'll need Windows 10 or Windows 11. On the Mac, you'll need Big Sur or Monterey, which is Biggles or Monty to us MacBiters, obviously. So it's only the very latest 2 versions. But that's not the only way that you can buy this. It's available on the App Store. Do not click, go and have a look. Don't, not yet. Because the problem on the App Store is how long it takes to update. So before we started, I went and had a look, and as you can see, 2021. I don't know why they don't have that ready or take it away from sale, because it's for sale right now and it's an old version. You'll notice it's £10 cheaper. But your problem is there are no upgrades. So if you buy that today and you want 2022 tomorrow from the App Store, you've got to pay the full amount again. It's utterly ridiculous. But it might still be better for you than buying it direct, because the one thing that you get in the Mac App Store is, unofficially, you can put it on as many computers as you like. It's not activated. Now, TechSmith would like you to log in, but it's not compulsory. So you could install it on more than 2 machines. I think the accepted limit is 5 or 6, but I don't think Apple enforce it. I have both versions because I have more than 2 Macs. But if you are thinking of buying it from the App Store, the one thing to remember is if the certification is important or the support is important, you don't get that. Your contract is with Apple, and TechSmith don't know who you are. So if you try for support, you're going to have to tell them it's the App Store version, etc., etc. So it's there's no clear answer to should I buy direct or should I buy it from the App Store.
Kim's got a question.
Okay, let's have a look. I'm confused. How do you get to the maintenance for longer than 1 year? What happens is you get an option. When you're checking out, it will say, do you want to automatically renew next year? So save your payment details. And if not, they will send you a reminder. I wasn't automatically renewing, so I got a reminder this year that said, it's due. I think the date was something like the 12th or something, and it was reminding me. So I went in to renew it, and I couldn't renew it from the date it was due to end. What they do is they give you a discount and renew from the date that you resub. So it either happens automatically or they will remind you and give you chance to either take it or change your mind and not do it. To me, it's worth every penny. The certification, whether you want a certificate or not, the training is useful because it takes you through all of the new features. But it might be better if you want it on 3 machines to get it from the App Store. But then the trade-off is next year you're going to have to pay the full amount. Whereas with maintenance, you're going to pay £10.90. So it really does depend. It's going to be your own specific circumstances that work out if that's a good thing or a bad thing for you. Right, now, once it was acquired, so for us it was automatic. It was just a matter of downloading it from TechSmith, which is when the fun started. Yes, permissions purgatory. Now, this is before you even get going. You've got to sort all the permissions out. The collective noun for which, this came from me, a pig's ear of permissions. It was a nightmare. So I did mine first, and then I said to Mike, are you going to install this new Snagit? And he said yes. And I said, you might want to wait and do it with me, because I've already been through the pain barrier, so you don't have to. This was what happened. Before I even started, as soon as I downloaded it, it wanted permission to open that. Then it wanted permission to use my TechSmith account, Snagit 2022, in the keychain. I didn't have that in the keychain as far as I knew, but I gave it my login password and said always allow and left it to it, because I know what a nightmare these permissions are. If you can't get these permissions sorted, and if you go to the forum, there are 3 million people complaining about these permissions, it isn't going to work properly. So this is the permissions screen, and this was my start. I had 1 out of 10 enabled. Now, do bear in mind here, I've already got Snagit 2021 installed, but the only thing that came through is the system audio. That was still enabled by some miracle. But the top 2, the Snagit screen capture required, Snagit 2022 and the helper, if those 2 aren't enabled, it's not working. It's literally just not working. Right down to the bottom, the last one was the desktop folder. So off I started. So it's telling you it wants to record the screen, and then it asks you to open the system preferences to let it do it. Then I got that because I've got an Apple Watch, but instead of it being instantly available on the Apple Watch to double tap, no, it wasn't. And I've no idea why. I had to wait, and then the watch sprang to life and I could do it. At which point you'll see something that doesn't have a tick. So you can see 2021 did have a tick, 2022 didn't. All you need to do is put a tick in the box. At which point it then wants to quit and reopen Snagit. Now, you could, of course, say no, and I'll do the whole lot at the end. Don't do that. It didn't end well for me last time. So I thought, right, I'll quit and reopen and do each one at a time. And that way, if one fails, I'll know which one. And I'll know to do that bit again and not all the rest of it again, because I don't want to snakes and ladders and go right back to the start. So I said yes, quit and reopen. At which point, Snagit said, no, I can't do that. Until you decide, do you want me to run in the background or not? Now, running in the background is what lets it take a screen cap when you're not doing anything else, when you don't have Snagit open. So I said yes to that and went back in. Whoa, 2 out of 10 at this point. Good job I'm on holiday, because I've got 8 to go yet. So the next one I went for, again, needed permission to record the screen, but then it supplemented it with it wanted access to the microphone, which obviously I needed to give it, and the camera, which I needed to give it, so sorted that out. At that point, 4 out of 10. Oh, almost halfway there. It was still complaining, though, that it needed accessibility features for something else, which took me back to the fact that the watch then needed to wait 20 seconds to spring into life. All told, this took me about 50 minutes. Seriously? Talk about cancel or allow. At least at this stage, it was letting me do the accessibility double do's. So I could put a tick in the Snagit 2022 and the Snagit helper. Then we had all of this. Now it wants to control Chrome. I didn't know why either, but I thought, well, fair enough. Let's just do it. And then give it permission for the desktop folder. You'll notice at this stage, I'd been at it that long, I'd shifted to dark mode and had a sleep as well. 9 out of 10 though, not bad. 8 out of 10 was my high score on Snagit 2021. That just left Safari. Not a priority for me, but I persisted in case it was for you. Eventually, because it just was not having it, but eventually I got that message, which I was able to click, at which point, 10 out of 10, it worked. There is a trick. This was full house, first time ever for me, but the trick with Safari is you have to close Snagit, open Safari, and then open Snagit. Otherwise, they don't talk to each other. So that's the trick. So after all that, was it worth it? If you just wanted to take one screen cap, probably not, to be honest. Oh my, see, it's done the same to Deborah. I did the Snagit 2022, had the same thing, permission loops and repeats. Just click enable and yes. Later on, it said I can't, you've not got permission in Safari. So bad words were said, and as I thumped OK, it then sprang into life and said it was done. So it wasn't afterwards. Once you've done it, fingers crossed. Is it worth it? Well, for a professional, yes, absolutely. But I think I'd have to say it depends for a casual user. But I take hundreds of screen caps every day, and Snagit and its features are incredibly powerful for me. But if you only want to take one or two screenshots and you don't want to edit them, then maybe not. Right, the new features in this version. There are video improvements. So it's got a completely upgraded video engine, and they're claiming better stability and improved audio and video syncing. And also more compatibility with other webcams. The biggest thing for most people is that it now supports cloud library storage. I must admit, I'm in two minds over that, because for me, they were already in the cloud. I will admit it was a bit of a dirty hack, but they were already in the cloud. But now it's officially supported. They've also introduced a completely new file format called SnagX. They used to be known as SnagProjs, a Snagit project. They are now SnagX. That's important because SnagX are cross-platform compatible in terms of the actual file itself. You could hand it off to a Windows user, a Windows user could hand it off to a Mac user, and you are good to go. That is quite important if you are sharing files. It's of no consequence to me whatsoever, but your mileage may vary. There's also cross-platform compatibility between the tools. So there's always been a bit of a difference between the way the Windows version works, the way the Mac version works. But now you've got cross-platform tool consistency, which is always worthwhile. And if you are making videos inside Snagit, it now supports webcam capture and does picture-in-picture video, which if you think for the price of it, that's not at all bad. That is not at all bad. You see, for Deb, it went well on a PC. It's just us Mac users now that are a laughing stock. I blame Timmy, but then you know me, I always do. So let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at some of the things that you can actually do with Snagit. This might be very interesting because I have a library. It is absolutely crammed full of content, but I've just moved it. So Snagit fell over and screamed and threw its toys out the pram, but I think we're back to normal now. So first thing to think about is your preferences and where your library is. So on your capture, or is it advanced? There we go. Right, it's chosen what it calls an autosave location, and it's chosen the pictures folder and put a folder called Snagit inside it. That's the default. But if you want to put this on the cloud, or any cloud, right, I'm going to click choose, and you get this. So this is the default, that's what it's using. But it's also saying, look, I found this cloud location on your device. It then says, we also support, but we didn't find it on your system, Box, Dropbox Business, Google Drive, OneDrive for Business, and OneDrive Personal. Right, I can understand it can't find Box, Dropbox Business, OneDrive for Business or OneDrive Personal because they're not installed. So that would be understandable. Why it can't find Google Drive is a mystery to me as well as you, because that is installed and it is perfectly correct. But if you want to use Dropbox, all you need to do is to click the Dropbox. That's actually a button. So you would just click that and it would move it for you into Dropbox. You can click here and then choose somewhere else. Just another location. Right, if you've got pCloud and pCloud is mounted in some kind of way, then there's no reason why you can't use pCloud. So all you need to do to enable this is just either choose anything that it finds that is a cloud location that works for you, or choose to browse to another location and then pick the cloud service that you want from there. For the demonstration, so it doesn't scream and throw its toys out of the pram again, I'll just leave it up here because it doesn't matter. Okay. Right. Interface-wise, nothing is new. Mine might not look like yours, because I have customised the toolbar. But apart from that, and I've customised some of the tools. But you have the standard tools across the top here. They're not all showing by default. But to me, I don't want to have to click another button that says more tools and then bring them down. So what yours might look like is there is a more tools option, which is here. And all the tools are listed off there. But what I do is drag these on, each and every one of them. So every tool is available. You can never have too many tools. Then you've got your canvas, your working area, which is the capture. And then you've got your recents tray at the bottom. Now, even Mike stumbled with his recents tray, didn't he?
Yes.
Thinking that that's all the captures that he's ever captured. And it's not. This is just a working area to work with, and that is so powerful. If I've captured 50 captures and I only want to work with 5, I can actually close the other files in here. So let's take some screenshots of stuff that's kicking around here. Right. Yes, whatever. That's not what I want to do at all. Come on. Right, let's capture something. So it's gone into capture mode. I'm going to capture something on the other screen. There we go. I have no idea why that's looking like that. What on earth? That's half a browser window. Oh, dear me. Let's get something else. What have we got? Should we draw around eagle? Let's see if it'll do an eagle. Come on. So it's disappearing while I'm clicking. That's better. Now I've got an eagle. So these are just captures that I'm making. But these captures, so we don't need that one. These captures in here, if I close it, I'm closing it. I'm not hiding it or deleting it or anything like that. If I go up here, this is my library. And in my library, I have every capture I have ever captured. Obviously in here, that's 2. But in my real library, can I show you my real library? I've got a backup of it, so I can show you that. I think it was on there. Or did I put it on there? I put it on there. Right, that's my real library. You'll see there's 3,345 items in it. Some are Snag Prodigies and some of these new Snag X's. So that's the front page from the sun and the star that were in that presentation. Right. So you can delete from the tray without deleting from the library. The tray is a working area, and that's what makes it so powerful. So, canvas, thumbnail track, which is your working area, and then over here you have the properties of the tool you have selected. So each time you change a tool, what's available over here changes. You also have access to effects, which are globally applied. So these are for individual tools, but these are global effects. So if I wanted to have this with edges on it, I can do that. So now it's got like a torn edge effect. You particularly use that if you're only showing part of a thing. You can also show the capture info. So capture info appears at the bottom if you want that. You can add perspective to it and fiddle around with the perspective. I'm not going to leave that on there. Got a reflection if you want a reflection. So you want to put it in a presentation, you want it to look nice. Those are the kind of things that are effects. But I thought I'd show you a handful of reasons why I might actually use it and you might not. But once you see what it can do, who knows, maybe you might want to use it too. Oh, and I see Kim loves it. Right, well, let me show you a few things that you can do with it. Right, I was playing around with PowerPoint the other day. Now, I've got PowerPoint running at the moment, so I can actually do that and go back into PowerPoint. But I'm coming out of PowerPoint so we can see... let's do that. Let's bring that on. So it's going to make it much smaller. Let's say I want to have a screenshot of this and do it like that. In fact, what we'll do there is we'll take it up so we can see Snagit 2022 is the section, and these are the slides that I've got, right? And then at the bottom there, we have that black one, like that, right? So I am going to make a change to this, and there's a reason that I'm going to make a change to it, but let's say we put some text in there. Text, right. So let's say I'm thinking, right, I want to showcase something and I want to capture that. So I activate the capture and I capture it, and it's captured, and then it's in Snagit. So let's move that out of the way so we can get it totally out of the way, because we don't want to go back into that, do we? Right, so this is the image that I'm working with, and there's a couple of things wrong with it. And this is going to sound really nitpicky, but this is what happens. You've had this, haven't you, from nitpicky editors who are checking your work. Right, I would look at that and I would say, right, okay. And another thing is, this could be within a series of captures, and I can't really easily take it again. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, oh no, I hadn't saved the file. So up here, it looks a little bit messy that I've got a red dot, the little dot in the middle. And down here, I hadn't come out of edit mode, so I've got this slapped around it. I've also got this black slide showing over here. Now, there's a few things that you can do. I'll show you the wrong way first. If you want to take something away, you want to select it and take it away, you have the select tool. And you could draw round the bit that you don't particularly want. And by default, you've got the square selection, the rectangle, the oval, polygon shape, or freehand. But I just want to draw around that. That's not too bad. And I can even make that a little bit bigger to make sure I've got everything in it. And I want to delete it. Okay, so I delete it. And that leaves me a hole in it. That's a transparent block in the middle. Now, I've seen people actually do this. That's the default behaviour. And then they think, right, well, now I've got a hole. So how do I fill it? Well, you have a fill tool. All these tools you've got up here, totally amazing. Bang on point, perfect. I need to fill it, but I don't want to fill it with white, which is what's over here. So I have an eyedropper, and I can say, well, I want to fill it with that blue. Awesome. So I could do that. But you could do that in any application. Here's where Snagit knows that you're working with screen captures and you need to work fast. Otherwise, you spend all day editing screen captures. It's a nightmare. Right, so let's undo that. Let's go back and let's have a try doing it the right way. So we'll start off up here. So I've zoomed in, and now I'm dragging it down so we can see the problem with this little dot. So back to the select tool, but this time I'm going to want to make a selection of just the bit in the middle. So I need this tool here and just draw around that bit there. Move it so it's bang on point. Not quite. Can we zoom in any more? That's a good idea. Let's not select it and let's draw around it there. So we've got just the bit there. Now you know what will happen if I press delete. We'll have a transparent block behind it. But over here you have two options for the background fill. Transparent or autofill. This is like autofill in Adobe Photoshop or Affinity Photo. Clever. So if I just press delete, it has a look round it and thinks, you probably want this red colour. And it automatically fixes it. I can't tell you how much time that saves. Right, I'm going to move this up. So I'm moving it around. And I'm going to go down here and pick one of these things. So I probably wouldn't want any of these. Right, but if we look at what we've got here and zoom out a bit. Right, you saw me delete one of these things. Let's say we wanted to delete quite a few of them though. So I go back and get the tool that I need to select these and draw around that like that. And instead of doing any magic filling or anything, I just press delete. And it deletes them, and it's as if they were never there, which is the amazing bit. It is literally like they were never there. Now, all of that's fairly simple to do in Affinity Photo, but who's got the time? Something like this is a bit trickier. Because yes, I could select that and I could say, yeah, we don't want that. But the thing is, I do. I need the middle bit. But unfortunately, I've left it in select mode. Not clever. But, and I haven't tried it with this one, but it did work on a gradient. If you grab just the top bit and delete it. Now, don't worry about this strobing up. We'll worry about that shortly. But I'm selecting each edge at a time and pressing delete. So it's going to take me 4 passes to do it. But I can actually make that look like that text was not selected in edit mode just by doing that. That is where the time saving comes in with Snagit. Otherwise, you would just redo it. You would just redo it, seriously. Anything else it can get rid of as well. So one of the things that I was looking at was the App Store. So this is a different way to do it. So I'm in the App Store. I'm going to take a capture of the App Store. No, you weren't. Does it not like it because the App Store's open? Oh, for crying out loud. There you go. Look, you've got permission. You've got all the permissions you need and you did it earlier. So just do it, hey? Right, there we go. You were lying to me. See what I mean about permissions? Be the death of me. Right, if you want to have this screen cap in some kind of presentation or other, but you've taken a screen cap, but unfortunately it's showcasing an app from a competitor of yours. Also, I'm logged in and it's got my avatar on it. Now, obviously, I can grab hold of this and I can do that with it, which is grab it and delete it. But the problem is by doing that, everybody's account is in that corner. Your screenshot's going to look weird because it's not. So, going to need a different tack here. Yes, I can get rid of that update, the fact there's an update. I can get rid of that. So, point 1, awesome. That will do nicely. What do I do with this down here? Well, there's another tool. This tool is the Simplify tool. Now, when you say simplify, what it means is automatically make something look like a wireframe. So you can do that automatically and it makes a stab at it and then covers things up. Not bad, but no t-shirt and not really what I'm looking for. But knowing about the Simplify tool is useful because you can use the Simplify tool manually. So if you wanted to hide part of it, you could use these blocks and it's picked up these colours from the image. There's a lot of blue in it and there's this petrol colour. So if you didn't want to showcase your Notion and you didn't want to particularly showcase the fact that, that they won whatever of the year, then you can just cover it up by dragging that onto it. But it gets better than that. If it's text, you can choose to cover it up like this. And you can set, there's settings that you can set for this. So inside the tools, down here, tool properties, take these up, you can make changes to that. What I want to do with it is have a look in here in the quick styles and see that we actually have graphics as well. OMG. So I could actually take that avatar and dump it on there, zoom into it a bit. It's going to need to be resized. So hold the shift key and resize it and then put it over the top of mine. Now, there would be no way you could take a screen capture like that. So editing it in here is got to be faster than any other way to edit the thing. I can still use the other tools. So if I want to take my name away, I can still do that. So I'm mixing and matching the tools now. Right, we've already used the select tool for making selections and pressing delete. But for this one to be perfect, I've got this one update. And I got rid of the update notification over here really easily. But down here, not so easy, because if I cover that up or I delete it, people are going to notice that there's something missing. So here's a good way to work with it. Right, I'm fine for them to know that I've got that installed. So over here, where we've got an open button, I am going to use this select tool to make a selection of the word open. And make it just so it's the middle bit of that button. And I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to move down to this end and I'm going to paste it. And then move that into place. And I've got a fix. I just need to move it 1 pixel that way. And we're good. These are the kind of changes that I make frequently. It just makes the difference. The polish that you can put on your screen caps, because there's nothing worse than you see somebody's demo and you're like, oh, what does that say? Well, what's under there? And for them to fix that in an editing app, it would take them ages. But in here, the tools that you have are dedicated to the kind of edits you would need to make in screen caps. And that's why these things are there. Right. So we've done that. We've added. The tools in terms of adding things are mainly the same. So you have the fact that you can point to something with an arrow, and you can change the style of the arrow, because that one's pretty useless in here. But I can change the style of it. I can bend it. Quite subtle bend. If you need to work around something, so you don't want it to appear in the text, you can do all of that as well. Don't go crazy with this. People are going mad. But you can do it. You can change the endpoints to represent something wholly different. So maybe a distance between something. Let's get rid of that. One of the most useful, which was added only about 18 months ago, was the magnify. So I want to magnify that. And that's the magnification. I move this out of the way. But what's happening behind it, this indicates which bit you're magnifying. So if I pull that over there, I can move that. If I grab the middle of this, then I can move that to where it makes sense. Like that. So if the default's like here, then you can't see the text anymore. But if you push that up to the top, then you can. You can also format that in any way that you would need to. So at the moment, it has a red outline. But as long as it's selected, if you wanted a yellow one instead, or any other kind, blue would work quite nicely with that, then you can. So you can format it in any way that you need. I will come on next week to some other stuff, and I'm going to link this application with another application. So one of the features that I absolutely love is the steps. So you put numbers on it. I'm going to do this properly next week, but literally if you're explaining something, you put a number next to it and then you explain it. And there's a way that you can link this feature with another feature in here where you make a guide, a step-by-step guide. But there's also another way to do that. So I'm going to use what I've built in Snagit, but I'm actually going to build something real next week. Fingers crossed it'll all work. But right now, I'm going to go back into here. So let me know in the chat. Does that do more than you thought? And do you need to have it do that at all? Right, let's get into here and into there. I have freebies. I do. The link's in the notes, Mike.
I found it.
And it's a site called PSD Graphics. So they're Photoshop files, but of course you can edit these in Affinity Photo. They used to do a free graphic every day, but it's really slowed down. But all the ones from previous years, they must have been around about 15 years now, are still there for download. And the beauty of these stock images is that you can edit them. They're PSD, so if you didn't want to see the eraser and the pencil, you could just toggle them off and then export a PNG ready for you. So if you didn't want the background page. So it's stock imagery, but you can edit it. So it's rather nice. I've used that for years. I think you were using it as well, weren't you?
Yeah.
For images like security warnings and stuff. It's great for stuff like that.
I have it on my bookmarks.
It's in my stock images bookmarks as well, but I haven't mentioned it for ages. So I thought I'd mention it. And then we're heading over to Mike whenever he's ready.
I am ready.
Right, let me get over here then out of the way and get over to you. Where are you? There you are. With a tidy desktop, I believe.
Yeah, with no desktop displayed.
There we go. Away you go, Mike.
Okay, third part of Power Query. And in this part, I'm going to look at two things. I'm going to look at the if statement for creating conditional columns, and I'm going to look at how to create a custom function, a simple custom function. So what I've done is I've created a little pivot table that is showing how many employees there are on each of these appraisal ratings. So you know how it works. Well, I do anyway. You have an appraisal every year with your boss, and you're given a rating between 1 and 5, and 5 is top and 1 is poor. And this is telling us out of our 27,500 employees, how many people are on each grade, and then a nice little chart. Where's the data coming from, by the way? Well, the data is in the data model. So if I go to Power Pivot Manage, that is where the data is. There is our appraisal rating column, and that was used to build the pivot table. Now, the problem I've got with the pivot table and the chart is it's not really helping us make sense of what those 1 to 5 mean. So 1 actually equates to poor, 2 and 3 equate to okay, and 4 and 5 equate to superstar. So to actually make sense of this, I want to actually see poor, okay, and superstar instead of the numbers 1 to 5. Well, what that means I need to do is I need to go and edit this column here. Now, I could do a find and replace, but I can't do a find and replace here. What I need to do is edit the original data, not the original data, because the original data came from our HR system and it got loaded into the data model of this Excel file, but it got loaded in via Power Query. Because if you remember with Power Query, you do data, get data. And Pete, that thing you posted on Slack the other day, yeah, Power Query is what you would use for cleaning up the data before you then eventually build your pivot tables from it. So data, get data, and then wherever the data's coming from. Now, having already imported the data in, it creates a query. So whenever you import data into an Excel file from somewhere else, behind the scenes, it creates a query. And if you go to Data, Queries and Connections, it will display the Queries panel. And there is one query in this file. It's got 27,000 rows in it, and that is the query that is controlling the data that's in the data model. So if I right click on that query and click Edit, it loads in the query editor, and this is where I can do my stuff like data cleaning. This is where I create additional columns, as I showed you last week, and we are going to look at more additional columns this week. So what I actually want to do is create a new column. I don't actually want to do a find and replace and just switch out the 1 to 5s in here for poor, okay and superstar. I want to create a new column that actually generates the values poor, okay and superstar depending on what is in those cells there. Okay, so what I need to do is go to add column and then conditional column. Add column, conditional column. I'll give this a name, so I will call this one appraisal description, and I will say if the last appraisal rating, which is that column there, so if the last appraisal rating is equal to 1, then poor, and then add another clause. So else if last appraisal rating is equal to 2, then okay, add another clause. Else if last appraisal rating equals 3, then okay, add another clause. Else if last appraisal rating, what I'll do here is say is greater than or equal to 4, and that way I don't have to define 5 as well. So if it's 4 or more, then it's going to be superstar. Star. Okay. Or I could get rid of that one and I could just put superstar in here. So there's two ways I could do that. So if it's 1, then it's poor. If it's 2, it's okay. If it's 3, it's okay. Otherwise, it's superstar. And click OK. And now we have our appraisal description column, which it has given us the correct values. I will close down the query editor and keep the changes. What I should find now, if I click into this pivot table, is I should find that new column is there, appraisal description, and I'll actually drag that into the rows section and swap out for the last appraisal rating. So there we go, and that has now updated the chart as well. Okay, so that's one way to do it. I'll do it another way as well. So if I go back to the query editor, so right click edit, I'm going to create another new column, and this is actually going to generate the same information. I'm basically showing you two ways to do the same thing. So I'll create another new column with add column custom column instead of add column conditional column, and I'll call this one appraisal description 1, just to differentiate it from the one that's there. And the formula is going to be if last appraisal rating equals 1, then poor, oops, other side of that, else if last appraisal rating is 2, then no, actually I can do it a different way. If last appraisal rating is 2 or last appraisal rating is 3, then okay, else superstar.
Question.
A question? Let's go and have a look at that. If you wanted to change the column order in the chart, would you just sort the rows in the source table? If you want to change the column order in the chart, would you sort the rows? Yes, you would, Pete. Just sort the rows in the source table, and that should then change the order. Okay, so there is the formula manually written out. I actually think that's slightly easier. It's not difficult to learn that particular construct of if then else, and that is written in the language called M, which I did mention last week. I've mentioned that a few times. So if I just click on OK, except I missed the N off then, that's better. Now I can click OK, and I do get exactly the same results. So two ways to do the same thing. Okay, yeah, thank you, Renee. I just spotted that. Okay, last thing to show you is custom functions. So just like the built-in functions, things like sum, count, average, and so on, you can create your own functions. You can create your own functions in Excel itself, and you can write those in VBA. You can also create those with Lambda, as I've covered a couple of times. But I'm talking specifically here about the query editor. So functions are written in the M language. So a couple of weeks ago, I showed you how to calculate the age based on the starting date. So calculate how old somebody is based on their date of birth, then calculate, I also did calculate how many years service somebody has got based on their hire date. Say we had a last appraisal date, we could calculate a date of next appraisal. It could be every 3 months. But each calculation required 3 steps. You had to go to add column, and then you had to go to date, and then you had to go to age, and that gave you a result, a new column, but that was a duration column. So you had to change the data type of that column to years, and then you had to round it down. So nothing wrong with doing that, nothing wrong with creating 3 or 4 extra columns that calculate an age of a person based on their date of birth, the number of years service based on how long they've been at the company, a date of next appraisal if you had a date of last appraisal. But if you need to create several calculated columns that are similar in nature, rather than repeating those steps multiple times, consider creating a function. Functions are useful where you have got a reuse use case. So let me show you how to create a function. From Excel itself, so I've closed the query editor down. I'm going to go to Data, Get Data, then from other sources and blank query, and that reopens the query editor, but it's created a blank query which it's called query 1. I'm going to rename that query by right clicking and choosing rename, and I'm going to call it FN age. You could have called it anything you like. You don't even have to begin its name with FN. That's just my naming convention to indicate that it's a function. So it's a query, but it's a query that's going to generate a function. Once I've done that, right click on it again and choose Advanced Editor. And it generates the code stub. It's a bit like when you go into the VBA editor and you get sub and end sub. But M is a language all of its own. It's not a language I'm overly familiar with, but it's worth learning bits and pieces of it. Okay, so let FN age equals V input date, and then equals greater than. Basically what that line is doing is it is setting the value of the function, and it is creating a variable called VInputDate. Then I need to type another line of code, which, just to speed things up a bit, I'll copy and paste it from my notes. There we go. Basically what that is doing is it's grabbing the current date or the year from the current date and subtracting from it the year of VInputDate, where VInputDate is what we are going to reference in the function. So I'll click done on that. Once I've done that, I will go back to my employees list. So how do I create a new column and use the function? Well, I'll click on Add Column, Custom Column, and then for the custom column name I will put age, and then I'll put FN age, open brackets, FN age is the name of the function, and then choose date of birth and close brackets. So that has now calculated the age based on the date of birth. I'll do another one, add column, custom column, call this one years of service, and I'll put equals FN age, and then hire date, like that. And it tells me how long each person's been at the company. So basically what I've done is I have used the query editor to create the function, and then when I want to use the function I just create a column and I pass into that column the name of the function and the name of the column that I want it to use as the second parameter in the function, the first parameter being today's date. All right, and that is it. So that is a quick roundup of how to do calculated columns with the if function and a basic custom function. I'll pass back to you.
Neatly done. Neatly done. Let's see if this works. I've got all kinds of things going wrong over here, but these things are sent to try us. Right, let's get that down and push the button. Fingers crossed. Wonders will never cease. Right. We are finally reaching the end of our Scrivener Masterclass. Probably the last thing you'll want to do when you've done one job is to rinse and repeat. Unless you're putting everything in one file, which sometimes I do. And that is going to need a template. So let's have a look at templates and what you can do with them. Right. Let's push that button. It's not liking this. It's really struggling. Right. So what I've got here is, this is a copy of the course file that we've been looking at over the course of this. But I'm going to start by showing you templates in terms of using them. So you have the option to make a new project. And the new project dialog box comes with a range of templates. You can also download any number of templates that you would like. The first one in here is the interactive tutorial, and that's really actually very valuable. But most people just want to jump in and put their own stuff in, and the interactive tutorial's all very well, but it's quite long. But it's there, and the fact that it's a template means that if you get halfway through and you're lost and you think I've broken it, you can always go back and start again by making a new one. There's also a user manual that is part of a project. So we could just double click on that. That's actually opening up the user manual. Did I highlight some of that? No, I don't think I did that. That's just opening up the PDF manual that you've got. And there's also video tutorials, which is just a link to them. So the next option is all the templates, but there are 5 groups of them. So blank is probably where you started originally, way back when. Unless you were using something specific, maybe for fiction or non-fiction, and you started there instead. There is nothing that is in any of the templates with content that you can't add to a blank template. So if you are in any way unsure and you want to try and understand how it works from the get-go, where you add everything, then you could start from blank. But having said that, nothing to stop you starting with one of the other templates and deleting what you don't want, just in case you're thinking, I really don't know, and I'd like to start with a template and then take things away. So it completely depends. But the blank one is the blank one. It then moves on to fiction. And the main distinction with what you've got here, with the novel and the novel with parts and the short story, is how the information is then compiled. The novel and the novel with parts, if you are going to write like a 5-piece epic, then it will give you totally separate areas for each novel or each part of a novel. So I would say try and start with the one that fits your work best. The non-fiction one depends on like the style you're starting with. So if you know it needs to be a Chicago style, or you know it needs to be one of these others, then start with that one. But there's also a general non-fiction. Then there's script writing. Now, script writing is something that we haven't touched upon. It's a bit specialised, but Scrivener switches mode with a script, and you end up actually writing it as in it would look like a script. Put it like that. And then you've got your miscellaneous, so a persuasive lecture, a poem, or a recipe collection. Most of the time I start with blank because what I'm doing doesn't fit any of the others. But this is using a template to create a new file and use what is in there. So this general non-fiction would probably be the nearest for me. So I'm going to choose create, and we'll put it in there as general. And when you open it, it has content that would not be there in the blank one. So for a start, it's got an instructional sheet at the top. Then it's got what would be called draft in the blank one. But it also has locations for a forward, and there's a sample chapter and a section. You've got both front matter and back matter. So on the front matter, you've got the manuscript. So that's a format where you're going to put the title page and the table of contents. Then you've got things that are specific to the paperback and specific to the ebook. Now, for what I want, I probably don't need all of those, but it's nice to have them there to start with and then say, I'll delete the format and I'll delete the paperback. So I'm not going to need the manuscript. I'm not going to need the paperback. So I can just delete these. So it's not a case of, well, I've got to start from blank because, there's stuff I don't need. Just delete it. It will be deleted to the trash. So it doesn't get deleted straight away. It goes into the trash. That's important if you want to customize something and make it your own. Because before you save this as a template, you would be advised to delete everything that's in the trash. To do that, you right-click on the trash and then say empty trash. It will warn you because this is the last chance. But we do want it deleted, and then the trash contains nothing. And just work through it from that perspective. But that won't work for me because I've already got something that's fairly decent and fairly large. That's got everything in that I need. But this has been created. I've done a save as, and I've saved my real project as something called course. And I need to turn this into a template. Now, it's really easy to do that. I could be finished in 2 minutes. But I'm going to take you through a process that's best done before you do that. So to make a template, you actually have the option to save as a template. But here's why I would go through this first. All right, this has come from something that's in use. So in the inbox, I've got content and it's specific to this file. So first thing I would do in there is delete that. Then I've got the journal. Same issue with that. I need to delete all of these. So I would select these and delete. The journal folder is still there, but the content has gone. Now, what you could do if you're handing this template off to other people, or just to remind future you, is you could put an entry in there and just put something in, so make sure it's sample, but put it in terms of a name. So I would actually do year, month, DD. So it's a sample, but when I come to name it, I know I don't want the word sample, but that's the sample that I need. And then if I've got anything in there where I want to be prompted, then I can put that in there too. But that's probably enough for the journal. The course content, I'm not going to need any of the course content at all. But in keeping with what we've seen in the other templates, sometimes it's handy to have a folder and an introduction to it. So a folder and an item. So if we say there that is a module, and this is a lesson. In fact, it probably would in this case be introduction. But just in case it's not, then we can put in there what it is, which is lesson. Obviously in here, don't need the content in that, so get rid of it. So I'll just go full screen with that. So there's nothing in there. Now, this here, where it says lesson, it provides an overview. All right. Where exactly is that coming from? And that's coming from the synopsis. So what we could do is say add summary here. And that's an instruction for us so we know what goes in there. In the notes we could put this space is used for creating a status report, which indeed it is. We looked at that last week. So then give an instruction, add details of progress. And that will then be included in there. So at this point, you're stripping out your content, but you're adding in instructions for future you, or if you're sharing this template, for somebody else. Right. It's not on a soft hold. It's probably got no label, and its status, it wouldn't have a status either at this point. So let's have a go through here. And we don't need keywords. There's no keywords. So we're good to go with that one. However, the module has got a gold label on it. We don't particularly want that. So in here, we'll set it to no label as well. And as the status, no status. So we're stripping out content. We don't need any of this at all. So we can literally just delete the whole lot. That one, I don't know where that's coming from. Shouldn't be in there. This is the course metadata, so the title of the course, but notice it's coming from the project. So that doesn't need changing because that will change itself. The duration, if we put in there X and we put in there X, we'll know again the format. And we haven't written a course summary in there at the moment, so we don't need to change any of that. So at this point, the inbox is okay, journal's okay, course content's okay, front matter okay. Then we've got the notes, and this is for this particular course. So grab hold of that and delete all of that. This is the progress spreadsheet, if you remember. So in here, we should, I thought you could double click this, but that wasn't doing it for me. Well, it was, but it was opening it up places I didn't want it opened up. Right, let's do it down here. Where we should, if I hit it in just the right spot, go on, you know you want to. It's opening it in numbers. So this is the file that's embedded in there, and it's the Blue Yeti one. So if we change that and we put course title, and in here we also put course title, and in here it definitely wouldn't be complete, so take that out of there. We wouldn't know what sections we had, nor would we know what descriptions we had, save we probably would have an introduction. So let's get rid of those. We wouldn't know the estimate, nor would we know the duration. So we'll take those from there. And what we've then got, I love the way it comes up as pounds. I have no idea why. But you've sanitized this to the point that you can then save it back, and you've now got a workable template. So let's close it down in numbers. Go on, update. Oh, why aren't you updating? Oh, you naughty thing. Oh, if you're going to be awkward, then we'll just have to drag it out and add it back in again. That's not good, is it? Come on. Yeah, open it with numbers. And it should actually edit the one that's in there, which it's not doing because it's saying content. Right, we'll do a save as, holding the option key down to have the option to save as. I'm going to put that in my data folder, or I would be if it was playing ball. There we go. So we'll call this tracker, and we will close it down from in there. We will get rid of it from there, and we will add the new one in. So it's a blank tracker to track everything with. Did I have it in notes? I think I did, didn't I? So there's our tracker. We can then go and edit that. The research folder's empty. Then I've got reference. Now, the reference stuff, luckily, most of this is generic. It's shortcuts and stuff that's globally useful. Issue I've got with that is, and this is the kind of thing that you need to be thinking about at this point. That's all very well, lovely. Got the Udemy icon on it, but it's the old one. The Udemy icon now looks like that. So I could do with changing it. This is how I would do that. So I've got the ability in here to add an icon, change icon. But I need to manage the custom icons. And these are the two custom icons that I've got. Right, so I need to add a new one. So I'm going to go over there and pick up that icon and open and OK that. And then that should be available for me when I change the icon in here, down the bottom there. So I've updated the icon. These are the nuancy things. I could, because that's Camtasia, actually have a Camtasia icon on that if I wanted to. But this is the point that you need to be thinking about it. Then I've got system management, and under the system management, I've actually got the admin, the style guide, and the work in progress. This is the point I need to think, do I need to update this now and add a 0.06? But whatever I do in there, that gives me a point of time. I then tend to update the system, but I've got this, when I make a new file based on this, I know where I'm at with it. So I know what the styles were, and I know what I've added and what I've not added. So I can always update something in the future because I've got this tracker in here. And if I change something within a file based on this, then I would backfill it into the template as well. That's why the changes log is there. The next thing I would do, again, is make sure that the trash is empty, because there's a load of stuff in the trash now, but we'll empty the trash. Yes, I've got a copy of this, don't panic. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Right, then we've got the templates. And we see we've got the Udemy one in here, but again, we need to update the icon on that. But we've already added it, so it should just be down at the bottom, and we can choose it. And I think we are good to go there. We have a changes log that we can add new changes to it. All of these are wired up. All the status is set. We are good to go. So, having done all of that, we go to File and we go to Save as Template. And we are taken into here. You may see a dialog box that says you've got personal information in here. That's like a safety check for maybe you've put your name and address on one of the front matter pages or something like that. It will warn you. But we're okay here. So it needs a title. So in this case, course makes sense. You can put it in a category. These are the categories that you have in that dialog box when you say file new. It's probably non-fiction this, but you could say custom if you want. One or the other. I'll say custom. You can then give a custom category name. So on the basis that you might want different types of courses, you could say education here, or you could actually say courses. In which case, this would probably be better as a generic course. You might have very specific things, or you could say course with modules and lessons, because sometimes you won't have modules, but this one has got modules. You can also choose an icon, so you can have all of these things in here that are available. Probably shouldn't choose the comic script one, should I? What have we got that might work? Oh, we could choose one. We could choose one. Shall we choose that one? Oh, we could make it a Udemy one, couldn't we? Right, and then you choose whether you're saving the styles into the template. In this case, we will. So once you've put that information in there, you just need to click OK, and it will toddle off. Now, the file that is open at the moment is your point-in-time copy of this course. You're not going to need that particularly if you are going to have in here new project. Let's get rid of that lot. And you can see in here now we have courses. So these are alphabetical. We've added a custom group. There is our icon, and we've said course with modules and lessons. And I'll say, yes, I'll have one of those. Let's create that. It needs a place to put it. So I'm going to put it in my data folder for this. And I'll say, let's say new Udemy course. And OK. And it will have a think about it as it transfers all of everything that you've specified and creates a completely new Scrivener file with it. So new Scrivener course. We have the inbox. We've got the journal with our sample entry in it. Inside the course, we have one module and one lesson with the instructions to add the summary and add the content. We've got our front matter. We've got everything that we had previously, including the templates, which will work. So if I wanted to put up here, I needed to add a Udemy bit, I can click that. Don't tell me you put it in there. No, you put it underneath. There's a Udemy bit, and there's all the stuff that's inside it. And that came from a template down here. So templates mean two things in Scrivener. There are file templates, which give you an entire Scrivener file, but there's smaller templates here that give you individual bits. So you will create the individual bits first, and then as a last step, move on to creating the Scrivener file, the Scrivener template that you can actually share with people if you want to. So I think you've done everything at that point, from the very beginning as to what is Scrivener, what is a scrivening, folders, styles, individual scrivenings, icons. Oh, we've done everything. We have literally done everything and taken you to the point of creating a template. Now, templates can be shared. Some people make free templates available for things, specific jobs like blogging. Other people sell templates, so they build into the template something unique, like a framework of how to do something. So if I added to this one things like a guide to creating courses, like it's actually got that in it, to be honest, pasta system and course creation process and stuff like that. So it's actually got that in it already. And then they make them available for sale. So there's two distinct routes that people take with that. A lot of them go on Gumroad, which is quite popular with that. I think Etsy as well. I've seen some on Etsy. Blogging seems to be one of the favourites for that. I find Scrivener more difficult for blogging. I take finished blog posts and put them in Scrivener, but I don't tend to write them in Scrivener unless they're massive, unless it's a huge thing that needs organising. But I actually publish to WordPress via Ulysses. So because of that, Scrivener doesn't have the capability yet to publish to a blog directly. You can export it, you can compile it to HTML and do it that way, but there isn't an automatic way to push a button and send it up, sadly, to WordPress. That would be most useful. But who knows, maybe Scrivener 4 should be due out in about 10 years. I think the other thing that's missing from Scrivener is an effective way to work mobile. I save my primary content onto Dropbox, and Dropbox synchronises with my iPad. But boy, does it make a fuss about doing it. It takes quite a while. If you're working on one Scrivener file, I mean, I'll just quickly show you what I do with mine and why. In here, in Dropbox, in my apps, in Scrivener, I have Scrivener, which is a folder that Scrivener creates, and it's got the basics in it. But then I've got this Scrivener Extras folder. The Scrivener file synchronises with iOS, the Scrivener Extra doesn't, but you can see how many more files are in there. There's no point me synchronising all of that lot because I'm not working on it. So I keep this Scrivener syncing folder very, very clean because it makes the sync bearable. Beyond that, the sync could take 20 minutes. Not even joking, it's horrible. So it would be fantastic if it could sync in the background like Ulysses does. But it can't use anything other than Dropbox because of the architecture of a Scrivener file. And that is why it's like that. Okay. Oh, look, may be enough to convince Pete to write another book. Right, okay then, let's head off in here. What do we have coming up? Loads. We will be back next week. It's our Christmas schedule. We are here next week. We are here the week after. 2 weeks tonight was the night before Christmas. And the week after that, we've got our New Year's Eve party. So can't say fairer than that. I hope you are all following along with the Advent calendar and all of the freebies that we have had. And there will be our reunion episode of Marooned. We're still waiting on a date. Because, tidying up and finding SSDs and things. And we would want you to let us know what you want to see in 2022. So do let us know that. Available on demand, you will find everything at youtube.com/ElaineGiles. There is, of course, our playlist, which has got every episode ever done. And you will find that at macbites.co.uk/after-hours playlist. Then, when we do get around to a MacBites, there will be one. Honestly, there will. That will be on MacBites FM at 8 o'clock at some point. We love you guys. If you feel the same, can you give us a like? Help the channel out.
There's one question there from Patricia.
Right. Have you ever done a tutorial on how to restore Scrivener? You've got folders saved in a backup, but it's horrid to find them. I don't think we have.
I'll stick that on
we will save that, and we could do a Scrivener Ask Me Anything next week. So if you think of any other questions, we could do that. Right. In terms of... Why aren't you moving? There we go. You're moving now. Right. There is my mailing list at elainegiles.com/VIP, where all things VIP related. But the MacBites one is where it's at the moment because it's in the middle of the Advent promo. So that is macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. There is also Slack, where we are carrying on the conversation. Slack was where Renee asked the question tonight, about 20 minutes before we went live. And got a dedicated piece to answering his questions. So Slack's always where it's a good idea to be. And to do that, you need to go to macbites.co.uk/Slack and follow the instructions to join us. It's painless, honest it is. And it's free as well. So can't say fairer than that, can you? Right, so we're done. Do we have any questions?
Carol says she missed it.
Oh no, don't worry, it's available on demand. It's available on demand. You didn't miss it, you're just time shifting it. There you go. So if anybody thinks of anything Scrivener related, then I will do an AMA next week about it. Ask me anything. Oh, Kim says, thanks Elaine and Mike, love your shows and you're loving the Advent goodies. Oh good. And Renee loves Slack. Slack's very useful for time shifting stuff, isn't it? Thank you, Paul. So, do we have any questions? Night, Pete. Are you caught up yet, Pete? I know you were a smidgen behind, weren't you? Just a bit. Let me know how you're doing. Right, okay then. I need a drink. Do you know, should we break the mince pies out? Or would that not be wise at this time of night?
No.
No, because they're a bit spicy, aren't they? Yeah. I think that might have to be an afternoon treat tomorrow.
Yeah.
We've been having gluten-free fruit bread in the afternoon. Oh, it's been so indulgent. Loving it. Yes, people are saying that you're coughing.
That was a sneeze.
I know that was a sneeze, but it's just generally making noises, isn't it? Oh, well, I'm glad everybody seems to have enjoyed themselves. Fantastic. We will be back with you, same time, same place, next week. Oh, so close to Christmas. But, by then you will have had even more Advent stuff, won't you? It'll be fabulous. Fabulous. So we will get back to you with when we are going to have the reunion. But other than that, I will say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.